Vietnam Part 1 – The French Influence. First, we need to step back and find out what initially led up to the war. Let's go back in time and start with France. The French-Vietnam relationship started as early as the 17th century. Alexander de Rhodes was the first French missionary to visit Vietnam in 1620. He arrived in Hanoi, but by 1630 the Emperor Trinh Trang was concerned about the spread of Catholicism in his realm, and so he expelled him. Much later, Alexander returned to Vietnam, to Hue, in 1640, but the Nguyen lords also got annoyed with him and initially condemned him to death, but later reduced his sentence to exile. In 1649, Alexander returned to Rome and pleaded for increased funding for more Catholic missions, telling somewhat exaggerated stories about the natural riches found in Vietnam. In 1651, Alexander famously publishes a new trilingual dictionary, and later Vietnamese scholars create a new written form of Vietnamese using the Latin script. This eventually displaces their old written form, Chu Nom, leaving generations of people unable to read their national literature. The Paris Foreign Mission Society was set up, and soon new Vietnam volunteers were found in Paris. Alexander then went to live in Persia until he died in 1660. And now we're going to fast forward from 1659 to 1770. Three brothers from a village called Tai Son started a rebellion because of local corruption. They fought as champions of the people and overthrew the Nguyen family in Hue, eliminating almost the entire dynasty. Luckily, 15-year-old Nguyen An survived and escaped, taking refuge with one of the French priests. The French priest was called Pignou de Bienne, and he and Nguyen An, who in later history is called Ceylon, fled the area. In 1787, Pignou returns to France and helps organise a treaty of alliance with the French King Louis XVI, called the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty was signed on the 21st of November 1787. Pignou was accompanied by Nguyen An's 6-year-old son as a token of Pignou's authority to negotiate in the name of Nguyen An. In return for France's help to regain the throne, the promise was made for France to have Con Dao Island, as well as concessions in Da Nang and exclusive trading rights. This treaty marks the beginning of the French influence in Indochina. However, the governor of Pondicherry refused to follow through the promises of the treaty due to the French Revolution, leaving Pignou to his own devices. Pignou musters a French force himself in 1788–89, which helps to re-establish the Nguyen dynasty. By 1802, Nguyen An becomes emperor at long last, and he takes the dynastic name Gia Long. His is the last ruling family of Vietnam, which lasts a total of 143 years between 1802 and 1945. When Emperor Gia Long died in 1820, the accession of his fourth son, Emperor Minh Ma, to the throne severely strained the relationship between France and Vietnam. Gia Long went against the normal succession rights and chose his fourth son, as he had started to get discontented with the French. Minh Ma held more Confucian Chinese values and inherently distrusted Christianity. In 1825, Minh Ma prohibited foreign missionaries in Vietnam, asserting Christianity perverted the people. When this didn't work, a total ban on Roman Catholicism, French and Vietnamese priests were enacted. This led to persecutions and executions of around 10 missionaries. On the pretext of intervening to protect the Roman Catholic faith, France began a hostile takeover. In 1858, Charles Rigaud de Genouilly attacked Vietnam under the orders of Napoleon III, where they attacked Da Nang, causing significant damage. The French then defeated the Vietnamese at the Battle of Hoa Kỳ in February 1861. In 1862, the Vietnamese government was forced to negotiate and cede several territories to France in the 1862 Treaty of Saigon, confirmed by the Treaty of Hue in 1863. Over time, France took more territory, pushing China back. China was the traditional overlord of Vietnam, causing China to totally disengage from Vietnam. By 1887, French Indochina was officially formed. The French left the emperors of Vietnam in power, although in reality the French themselves retained all the power, with the local rulers only acting as figureheads.